Songket is a fabric that belongs to the brocade family of textiles of Indonesia, Malaysia and Brunei. It is hand-woven in silk or cotton, and intricately patterned with gold or silver threads. The metallic threads stand out against the background cloth to create a shimmering effect. In the weaving process, the metallic threads are inserted in between the silk or cotton weft threads in a technique called supplementary weft weaving technique. Etymology: the term Songket comes from the Malay word Songket, which means to hook. It has something to do with the method of Songket making. To hook and pick a group of threads, and then slip the gold and silver threads in it. Another theory suggested that it was constructed from the combination of two terms. To suk and kukit that combined as sukit, modified further as sonki and finally Songket. Some says that the word Songket was derived from songka, a palembang cap in which gold threads was first woven. The Indonesian word menongket means to embroider with gold or silver threads, a unregistered trademark. Songket is a luxury product traditionally worn during ceremonial occasions as sarong, shoulder cloths or head ties, and tanjak, a headdress. Songket were worn at the courts of kingdoms in Sumatra, especially the Srivijaya, as the source and the origin of Malay culture in Southeast Asia. In the early kingdom age, Songkets are also traditionally worn as an apparel by the Indonesian royal families in Sumatra, such as the Delhi Sultanate in Medan, Sedang Sultanate, Palembang Sultanate in Palembang, and the recently restored royal house in Jambi. Traditionally, women are the weavers of Songket, however in this modern time men also are known to weave it as well. Songket is known in many names in vernacular Indonesian languages. For example, it is known as Somkin Manggarai, Flores, and Bima, Sumbawa, while it is known as Songkets in Bali and Java. The Karo Batak call it Jongkit. People in Ternate, Maluku, call it Suj, while the Bijanese in South Sulawesi call it Subya unregistered trademark and Arakaria unregistered trademark, and the Iban Dayak in West Kalimantan call it Pili. History. The historical records of use of gold thread in Indonesia is somewhat sketchy. Songket weaving is first, historically associated with areas of Malay settlement in Sumatra, and the production techniques could have been introduced by Indian or Arab merchants. In Indonesian tradition, Songket is associated with Srivijaya, a wealthy 7th to 13th century maritime trading empire based on Sumatra, because Palembang is the famous Songket producer in Indonesia. Songket is a luxurious textile that required some amount of real gold leaves to be made gold threads and hand-woven into exquisite fabrics. Historically, the gold mines are located in Sumatra hinterland, Jambi and Minangkabau Bay highlands. Although gold threads was found buried in the Srivijaya ruins in Sumatra, along with unpolished rubies and pieces of gold plate, there is no corroborating evidence that the local weavers used gold threads as early as 7th century to early 8th century. Songket probably developed in later periods somewhere in Sumatra. However, according to Kelantan tradition, this weaving technique came from the north, somewhere in the Cambodia-Siam region, and expanded south into Patani, and finally reached the Malay court of Kelantan and Terengganu as early as the 16th century. The weaving of Songket continues as a small cottage industry on the outskirts of Kota Bharu and Terengganu. However, Terengganu weavers believe that Songket weaving technique was introduced to Malaysia from India through Sumatra's Palembang and Jambi, where it probably originated during the time of Srivijaya. Much documentation is sketchy about the origins of the Songket, but it is most likely that Songket weaving was brought to Peninsular Malaysia through intermarriages between royal families. This was a common occurrence in the 15th century for sealing strategic alliances. Production was located in politically significant kingdoms because of the high cost of materials. The gold thread used was originally wound with real gold leaf. Songket as king's dress was also mentioned by Abdullah bin Abdul Qadir writings in 1849. Songket making equipments and materials there are two categories of Songket weaving equipments. The main weaving equipment made from wooden or bamboo frame, and the supporting equipment, which includes thread stretching tool, motif making tool, thread inserting and picking tools. The materials for making Songket consist of cotton or silk threads or other fibers as the base fabric and decoration threads made from golden, silver or silk threads. It is believed that in ancient times, real gold threads were used to create Songket. The cotton threads were run along heated liquid gold, coating the cotton and creating gold thread. However, today, because the scarcity and the expensiveness of real gold threads, imitation gold or silver threads are commonly used instead. Technique The Songket technique itself involves the insertion of decorative threads in between the wefts as they are woven into the warp, which is fixed to the loom. They are inserted as part of the weaving process, but not necessary in the making of the cloth. There are 4 types of supplementary weft weaving technique: continuous, discontinuous, inlaid and wrapped. Songket weaving is done in 2 stages, weaving the basic cloth with even or plain weaving and weaving the decoration inserted into basic cloth. This method is called inlay weaving system. The shining gold, silver or silk threads were inserted and woven into the plain weave base cloth in certain motifs, creating a shimmering effect of golden pattern against darker plain background. Songket weaving is traditionally done as a part-time job by young girls and older women in between their daily domestic chores. The complicated process of Songket making is believed to cultivate virtues, as it reflects the values of diligence, carefulness and patience. Patterns There are hundreds of Songket patterns. In Palembang tradition, Songket is inseparable from the lives of the people who wear it during important events such as births, marriages, and death. Examples of Palembang Songket patterns are Naga Bajon, Fukuk Rabong, Jipare, Bintang Baranti, Bintang Kayu Bungo Mawar, Bungo Melati, Bungo Sino, Bungo Jipang, Bungo Intan, Bungo Pasik, Kantik Manis, Lepus Berakam, Folir, Nampan Perak, Taba Lima and Tigo Negiri. Production centers. In Indonesia, Songket is produced in Sumatra, Kalimantan, Bali, Sulawesi, Lombok and Sumbawa. In Sumatra, the famous Songket production centers is in Minangkabau Pandai Sike area, West Sumatra, Jambi City, Jambi and Palembang, South Sumatra. In Bali, Songket production villages can be found in Kelangkung Regency, especially at Sideman and Jeljor village. While in the neighboring island of Lombok, the Sukarara village in Jonggok district, Central Lombok Regency, is famous for Songket making. Further production areas include the east coast of the Malay Peninsula, especially in Terengganu and Kelantan, and in Brunei. References. Further reading. External links: Songket weaving of Palembang, South Sumatra, examples of Lombok Songket pattern.